Welcome to SolFul Connections, where we skip the small talk and head right into the soul talk.
Connection. Let's talk about connection.
So today's SolFul Connections podcast guest has lived an accomplished life, has, like we all have, has journeys, twists and turns. And I am so excited to talk about this chapter because I'm embracing a new chapter, a transformative chapter myself. So when somebody's embarking on something that seems really deep and powerful, I get so happy and excited to talk about that. So today my guest is Laurie Schutt, and the chapter I'm talking about is Laurie's service as an end of life doula. So, Laurie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you so much for being on. Okay, Laurie, we're talking about end of life. And
Yes.
because we are, I thought, can we just touch upon the beginnings, your beginnings? Talk a little bit about your childhood. Something that intrigued me when we've talked in the past is kind of the expansive thinking of your mother and, the impact of that. Would you mind sharing just a bit about who you were when you were little?
I would not mind at all. I come from a matriarchal line. There was my mother, my grandmother. I am the eldest of the family, and I am the last of the matriarchs. Haven't figured out what to do with that.
Yeah.
But
Great. Hey, if you write a book, it's a great title.
what? I don't know what to do with that.
No, the last of the matriarchs. And then maybe I don't know what to do with that is like the subtitle.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, we're ready to on another project. That's funny. I have a very circuitous, I've had a very circuitous life. But my early childhood, I have one sister, so it's just the two of us. And my mother growing up, well, we were growing up, and she was always interested in the occult, metaphysics, extraterrestrials. So I grew up being exposed to all of these ideas that were certainly not mainstream. And despite the fact that I have a strong orientation towards science, sometimes I created science experiments when I was in middle school. I ordered chemicals and I was doing a experiment with plants. Despite that, so I have always looked at these topics, these unusual topics, tried to see what is the scientific justification for them. So that's led to a lot of reading and research and what have you. Most of my working career was involved in journalism, sales, marketing, research. At some point, I'm just trying to remember when, I guess about 40 years ago, I had a friend who was dying of, well, who was diagnosed with Hodgkin's. And I remember him crying in my arms with when he was diagnosed. And we remained friends from then on. And that was probably the first time I was present at a death. And I was there with the family, and it was a very powerful experience.
Wow.
And stepping back, my family has always told us, thank you for picking us, because the belief was that we choose our families, we choose our lessons, when we come into this life. So reincarnation is something that they were very comfortable with.
And when you say they, are you talking about like your mother?
And my grandmother, because she
Okay.
lived with us for a good part of our growing up years.
Oh, I see.
So they were talking about that, but the very first funeral I went to was that of my father's.
Wow.
And I remember looking at his body and thinking, that doesn't look like Daddy.
Yeah.
So I was really struck by the fact that there is this change, this visible change that comes over a person at the end.
Yeah.
Once their life force, their spirit, their soul, whatever you want to call it, leaves, the body looks different. And it was really fascinating. And I realized I was very comfortable with the concept of death. Uh, and I had the opportunity to be bedside with two friends, with my mother. So it just over time, it was growing. And I think I've gotten off topic because you were asking about my childhood. Did you get enough of that?
Yeah, but actually, yeah, I think that's exactly on topic because what's striking me is for you to be young and curious and comfortable rather than frightened, which is, I think,
Mhm.
the more common, approach to death.
Ah, true. We were raised as Christians. My great grandfather was a minister, and we went to the Presbyterian church, but we also explored religions.
Yeah.
So I went to a Catholic girls' school. I explored a number of other religious forms, but we never were indoctrinated
Yeah.
with fear
Wow. That's rare.
or I'm going to die and go to hell.
The
Whatever.
fiery,
We
yes.
never had that. Thank goodness.
Even that's rare.
Mm.
That's actually kind of unusual in our society for whatever reason.
And this generation, I'm sure. Yes.
Yes. What was your relationship with these kind of larger, expansive topics? And here you are. I know you had a really accomplished, for lack of a better word, career. It was like business, and you're a journalist and you're working in marketing. Did you feel that any of this was at odds? Did you feel comfortable? Was it all kind of intertwined in who you were? Does that question make sense?
It does. It does. It's kind of interesting. I was a single mother, actually twice. And so earning a living was always important to me.
Yeah.
Other than that, I might have gone off and joined a commune. I don't know. But my work was pretty straightforward. A lot around one of my positions was working for a tax shelter investment firm. And we had some of the wealthiest clients in the country. So it was between financial aspects, but there was always that part of me that was open and has been open to what else is out there. I think if I were to describe myself, I would say I'm a very open-minded individual with a real curiosity and interest in the science of things.
Yes. Yeah, I think that comes with it. I think that sometimes there's a perception where that if you are thinking about larger themes, it might not be connected to science, but science is all about questioning. Real true science is about the questions, the ambiguity.
Absolutely. And one of the most interesting developments has been quantum physics.
Yeah.
That changes
Yeah.
so much about our approach to science, if you will. It's a whole nother ballgame.
Yes.
Unfortunately, young people aren't learning about it very early, and it's a lot of
Yeah.
times we older people who start exploring it, but it's fascinating. Science is about understanding how things work or what's happening. So it really doesn't matter whether it's past life regression or near-death experiences, or how is this tree growing? What exactly is going on there?
Right.
Just, it's all connected. We just have, I find that we have narrowed our vision, and I'm all about, let's look at everything. Let's be open-minded and see where we go.
Why do you think that we have narrowed our vision
Huh.
collectively?
Okay, I think part of it is the education that our children receive.
Yeah.
We are in materialistic society. Everything is material.
Oh, right.
And when you look at science, what science has done over generations is they get into the smaller and smaller parts. But then, and that's where quantum physics comes in. You go small enough and then it doesn't
It's big.
follow the rules anymore.
Yeah. Oh, so interesting. So, how, thinking about your roots, thinking about your journey, did it suddenly come to you, okay, this is what I want to do? Or was it more of like a slow awakening?
Yes and no. uh, I always felt very comfortable with being bedside when someone was passing.
Yeah.
But I was busy with my work. After I left my job, I was consulting, so I continued to work. But then I became ill myself, and I'm dangerous. I know enough science that I was spending hours and hours trying to figure out what was going on, despite the fact that I was going from one doctor to another doctor, pen everywhere, and not getting any answers. Not this past summer, but the summer before, I was really feeling not well, thinking I was going to die because it was one thing after another. And I took myself off to our country place. And I spent most of the summer reading and meditating and watching interesting videos. And I realized that I was putting way too much psychic and physical energy into figuring out what was going on, that I needed to turn that on and turn that energy and time into something that I was passionate about.
Wow.
So that's when I decided to go through the training to become an end of life doula. However, several years before that, I had joined the INELDA organization. That is the International End of Life Doula Association. They're headquartered in New Jersey, but they do training. That's pretty much what they do. They train people to be doulas and to help those who are passing. So I realized I've been a member because I really was interested in it.
Yes.
And I thought, I'm going to do this.
So, what is an end of life doula?
Okay. Most people, but not everybody, knows what a birth doula is.
Right.
And that is usually a woman. I suspect there are a couple of males, I don't know, who support the mother and the family through the birth process, supporting them, educating them, doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
So an end of life doula basically does the same thing, but at the other end of life. I don't want to say end of life, at the other stage of life.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
When one is transitioning out
Yes.
of their bodies
Yeah.
into who knows what exactly. Don't
Yeah.
know there. We, as doulas, we are not clinical. We do not take the place of hospice. Hospice is really important in helping to manage pain and deal with clinical issues.
Mm-hmm.
What the doula does is the doula comes in and works with the individual and the family to help them better understand the
Yeah.
process, what to expect, and to plan for it. We help with the planning. We help with this is how I want to be treated when I'm
Yeah.
leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to have darkness? Do I want to have flowers? Do I want visitors? Do I even want to manage my pain? There is an excellent document, a booklet called The Five Wishes. It is probably one of the best documents to start with after you've got your will. And it goes through. This is the person who's going to make the decisions for me, the power of attorney. And if that person isn't available, this is the next choice. And then I want to be resuscitated. I don't want to be resuscitated.
Right.
And then at what level do I want to be kept alive? So these are important questions that should be written down and should be in the hands of an advocate, because we all need advocates,
Yeah.
whether that's your family member or a dear friend, whomever.
Mm-hmm.
When a diagnosis is given, everybody is like, oh my God, they are overwhelmed.
Right.
So doulas come in, we hold their hands, we talk them through, and we help them maintain a level of control. Because if we know what you want and you have it written down, we can be another advocate to make sure that your wishes are observed, respected. So it adds a bit of control. We can't stop the process, of course.
Right.
But it adds a level of control. It takes internal questions out of the equation. A lot of times there are family members. One says, Mom doesn't want to go through this. So, but then sister or brother says, oh, no, we've got to keep her alive regardless. So it really comes down to, what does the patient want? That is our number one client. Secondary is the family and loved ones.
You know, what you're really bringing home to me is that it's not necessarily only the act of dying, it's that particular time and that stage. And, you know, it's a time. It's not just this one act. I think sometimes when we talk about death or dying, we think of boom, it
Right.
happens. And you're talking about that. Just like we were talking about chapters that I talked about it at the beginning of the podcast. It's another chapter.
Absolutely. It is. It is. It could be a long chapter or a very short chapter, but
Right.
it is. It's a process that people need to understand.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if you understand it, the more understanding and knowledge you have, the less fear you have.
Right. Because that is also a point that is being driven home. It's impossible to avoid at this point. We haven't found a way around it.
Right.
And yet we don't talk about it. We really don't talk about it.
No.
And I think probably you are going to be instrumental in elevating and opening the door to that conversation.
When I finished my training, that was one of my primary goals, is education.
Yeah.
I want people to understand what's involved, to reduce some of the fear, and
Yeah.
then to do some planning, even though, it could be
Yeah.
20 years. But then again, it might not be. We never know what tomorrow brings. So
100%.
education is very, very important. And toward that end, we started a course called Changing Shoes. And that is based on the Ram Dass quote that I particularly love. And that is that death is absolutely safe. It's like taking off a tight shoe. So that's why we came up with the idea of changing shoes. We had our first session. There were 12 people, 13 people who attended. And Greenshire Institute in Quakertown was gracious enough to let us have the course there. Actually, the director was encouraging me to do it. So I got talked into it. But we were going to meet monthly, the last Tuesday of every month. After the first class, people didn't want to wait. They wanted to have more frequent classes.
Wow. That's amazing.
And the mix of people, we had people who absolutely were comfortable with dying, not afraid for themselves or their loved ones. Others, not at all. They are terrified. So it was really interesting to have this group of people, none of whom really knew each other, talk about what they felt
Yeah.
and what their experience had been.
Yeah. Oof.
And to make things interesting, this next, actually 2 sessions, will be on the afterlife because many people are interested in that.
Yes.
And if we could explore that, not that we're going to come up with it, this is the way it is for sure.
Right.
We don't know. But I think it's important to understand the variety of beliefs,
Yeah.
of approaches. And I believe that that will help people feel much more comfortable when we get into the planning for their own.
I think so too. And, a lot of it goes back to what you were talking about with the material world, where we are living in a world where if you don't really think about energy and atoms and matter and things like that, then you think the world is exactly and only what we can touch
Oh, and see, yes,
and
absolutely.
see. So I think that opening the door to that conversation is probably a powerful connection for people to just kind of say, hey, I mean, we don't know, but gosh, even our earliest Homo sapiens, they buried their dead and they buried them with things that they might need in another place. One of the things that comes through so loud and clear when you talk about all of this, Laurie, is your wish for people to have the dignity that comes with um, understanding the dying process and having things the way you want them. And I'm wondering how that thought has led or has even become enmeshed in your work with the unhoused, because I know that
Yes,
is something that's very important to you.
it is. It is. Last fall, I was invited to participate in the coldest night of the year event. It was here in Bucks County. And I put together as best I could a display of the unhoused individuals who had passed in the last couple of years. Very, very, very hard to get information on that. But everything's changing. There's some exciting changes coming on that. Um, Also, I would look out of my window, and across the street is one of the little food pantry, the little ones.
Mm-hmm.
I watch the homeless pick up food. And I decided that while I will certainly work with anyone, I really want to make sure that our homeless or unhoused do not die alone. They have someone with them and they can receive quality care.
Mhm.
So I'm involved in another project.
Because why not? First of all, I'm just curious why. Like, why does that touch your heart? Like, what is that about that population that reaches you in that way?
Oh, that is a really good question. They're human beings. They are not on the street willy-nilly, probably gone through some major traumas. They may have mental illness. That certainly is a possibility. They could be veterans. They could have lost their jobs. The stories grow all the time. They deserve to die with dignity and with someone there for them,
Mm. That's
holding their hands.
yeah. And is that what, there's this expression that's been floating around, dying well. Is that what dying well means? To be experiencing compassion and in whatever way possible, comfort?
I think dying well is different for each individual.
Yeah.
But at the very least, yes, they should be in a shelter, in a comfortable environment, in a physical environment where they can have hospice care, where they can have regular meals, clean beds, people who care about them, and pain control if they want. And most people do want
Oh,
that.
right.
If you don't have hospice
That's
or
true.
somebody there, then
Wow. Yeah.
yeah.
What do you think dying can teach us about living?
Well, life is unpredictable and short. And personally, going back to my early education,
Yeah.
I do believe that we're here for a reason.
Yeah.
It's just not willy-nilly. We are here for a reason, a purpose. And if one can accomplish what they came here to learn, then death is the graduation, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. This maybe should seem obvious, but why do you think people are so afraid of not only death, but even the discussion? Because really, people seem to not only be afraid of dying, but they seem to be afraid of even talking about it.
They are. They are. This is absolutely true. I think it's a combination. Actually, let me think about this. I think, Amanda, a big part of it is they don't understand it. They
Mm,
don't know. They don't know what's going to happen. Now, they may have heard from their churches, this is what's going to happen.
yeah.
It's an unknown.
Yeah.
It is an absolute unknown. And I think that's a big part of why people don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my goal is to shed some light on it and hopefully reduce the fear. This class is really interesting. It's a beta. It's a beta test
Yeah.
because this is the first time we've done it. So it's
Great.
going to be really interesting to see after it's over what I get from the class members and how it's changed their attitudes. But the fact is, a lot of people not only want it more often, but wanted to bring friends. So
Oh, that's great.
there is a pent up demand.
Yeah. I think when you have somebody willing to talk about it, I'm always curious about our collective inability to discuss so many different things. Death is probably at the top of the list, in many ways, but there are a host of things on that list that
Yes.
people are uncomfortable talking about. So I love that you're doing this, Laurie, because it's so important because it is something that is filling people with fear and with sadness. And I think that even if you have lost someone, it's important to be able to talk about death.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our students was with her mother when she passed, and it was not a good death. It was a horrible death, and she's still traumatized by it.
Yeah.
And but she's really, really enjoying the class, and hopefully
Right.
when we get through that she'll be in a much better, more comfortable
Yeah.
place herself.
I mean, part of trauma seems to be as much a part of life in a sense as death does. All of these big things seem to be in all of our lives at some point and in some level, isn't it? And yet it is something that people don't love to talk about.
Right. Can you elaborate a little bit? I want to make sure I understood what you
I
said.
feel like trauma, not
Trauma.
witnessing a traumatic death or anything, but I do think that we're traumatized people. I think, honestly, even just going through COVID traumatized people on varying levels and in many different ways for many different reasons. It stopped the way we were living at the
It
very
did.
least, but we don't talk about it. We just kind of move on. And there's a great power in moving on. I love moving on. It's sometimes I want to move on too soon. That's, my issue. But I also think it's important that we kind of address our individual and collective traumas. I think one of the reasons I do the podcast is just to say, hey, we are all living through these things,
We are.
whether it's life, death, birth, trauma, shame, failure, success, joy, whatever it is, we've all probably experienced it at some point. So it's kind of nice to be able to open the floor and talk about it.
I believe basically it comes down to the fact that we're all connected. We are
Yeah.
all one species, if you will.
Yes.
We are all, and we have connections to our animals and our plants.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love what you've done in
Thank you.
your podcast and the fascinating variety of people with whom you've spoken.
Thank you. And now, speaking of connection, I'm just going to make a right turn, Laurie. And this is just me asking random questions for no other reason than that I like to.
Okay.
So, travel. I think travel, even if it's traveling to someplace that's 2 miles from your house, I
Mhm.
think opening the door to something new, a new view, a new vista is kind of powerful. So what place in the world would you say that either you have really felt a connection to or it has made an impact?
Okay. There is one place in the world I believe my soul resides or needs to reside, and that is Northwest Massachusetts. I had property up there, and I lived up there for a bit. And I used to live in New York, and I would drive up um, along 91, and coming over the mountain, it felt like I was coming home.
Oh, wow.
It's a spiritual place for me. It is a spiritual place.
What about if you could go back and whisper something to your 14-year-old self, what would you tell her?
I think I would tell her to maintain her authenticity. I think for me and for a lot of women, we will often put it down
Yeah.
because we want to be loved and accepted, and
Yes.
people have other priorities, other values
Yeah.
that aren't yours. I think it's really, really important to be true to yourself.
I love that. I agree with you. I think that belonging is so primal
Mhm.
that sometimes we can lose ourselves in our quest for belonging. So,
Yes.
yeah, and boy, at 14, that's always a really good thing for a 14-year-old to hear. Okay, this is such a trite question, and I love it. Everybody asks it, but I love it. So, if you could do the thing where you can have a dinner party,
Ah,
you don't even have to host it. If you don't feel like hosting it, you can go out to a restaurant with 3 people, and they could be from history, they could be dead, they could be alive. Who would those 3 people be and why?
for some reason, the first person that jumps in my mind is Barbara Jordan,
Oh,
who was very instrumental in the hearings way back in the, what was that? Probably the 80s. I always admired her. She was so articulate
yeah.
and smart. So I would count her in.
So she would be there.
Yeah, I would think. I think I'd like the Dalai Lama.
Oh, yeah.
I
That'd be a
think
good one.
he would be a wonderful addition. And this is a tough one. Right. There's so many people I admire. Um, Actually, if I could bring her back,
Yeah.
my mother, because
Oh,
I'd really
yeah.
like to know more about how she got on this journey.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's true. Yeah, that's interesting because when you say that she was interested in these things, well, now, my gosh, you can go into Barnes and Noble and there's like
Right.
whole huge sections, but probably for her, that was not at all the case.
Nope. No, I mean, you're thinking probably if you look back 70 years, yeah, that's a long time ago.
That's really interesting.
So, and I can't say my grandmother was always very open-minded, but she didn't get it from her.
What about your grandfather?
My grandparents were divorced,
Yeah,
so we didn't have men around.
that is, how do you think that informed your life?
Oh, big time, big time. I think part of my lessons, the lessons I'm here to learn, have to do with being in a married relationship.
Yeah,
How do I, how
yeah,
does that work? I mean, because I never saw it modeled.
yes. And that's so interesting because all relationships teach us, all of them, from the sibling to the parent to the friends to the work associate, all of them teach us. But if you were raised in and around only women, I can see that that would be such a different way of relating,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
You can write about it in your book, The Last Matriarch.
In my spare time.
That's right. At 3 in the morning or something like
Yeah.
that. And then finally, just a question that I'm throwing out. What does living soulfully or soulful living mean to you?
I love the title. What it means is basically being your authentic self,
Mhm.
to honor that authentic self, that soul that we all have. That's what it means to me.
It means that to me also. Laurie, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for this important conversation because to talk about death is to talk about life.
I would really like to talk about this other project. I've been in conversations with agencies here in Bucks County that serve the homeless. And there's an organization, a center out in Salt Lake City called the Inn with INN, all in caps, between. And it is a place, a physical building where the homeless there can go, or people who are really, really ill, and be cared for and receive the services. It's amazing. There was a journal article talking about how it came about, talking about the challenges. And these are the steps if you want to do this yourself. So we are going to do that here that's my major goal, so that we can make sure that our neighbors, whether they have a house or not, but they are our neighbors, can have dignity and not be alone and be cared for at the end of their lives. So there's some steam coming on this, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of work, and it will be a collaborative effort across the county. We need the hospitals, hospice, the social service agencies, the churches. We need everybody to come together and make it happen, but it can happen. And that is my other goal.
You are such a force for good in the world. That makes me so happy.
Thank you. And thank you. And thank you for what you're doing, because you're helping get the word out.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. Thank you for being a valued part of the Soulful community. Thank you to William Aronson for writing, recording, and producing the Soulful Connections theme song. And finally, always know you're not alone. We are connected. We're all in this thing together. And you and your story are important. Let's just keep on connecting.